We on? Does this? It's not saying live. See now it's saying live. There was a wicked delay with that
Yeah,
going live today, Nicholas.
strange.
How you doing, buddy?
I am doing honestly. I don't think I've ever been better because of that interview that we just did. There was a moment in there that was like I just it made me whole again, Joe. Not that I was broken, but like I didn't. Maybe I was, and I didn't realize it.
Well, that's great to hear. I also want to congratulate you on
Oh
your
boy.
recent promotion.
Um, I don't know what you're referring to.
You've been promoted, Nicholas, in the Gilmore house.
Oh,
You are no longer Mr. Nick.
oh,
You're Uncle Nicky.
oh! Wow!
Uncle
Oh my!
Uncle Uncle Nicky. Uncle Nicky. Because I've got a longtime college roommate. Jesus Christ, now 24 years we've been
Yeah.
pals, and he's Uncle Nick, right? And so we
Um,
would say Uncle Nick and Mr. Nick, and I got fucking sick and tired of saying Mr. Nick. So I said, "Hey, kiddo, what do you think? What do you like better, Uncle Nicky or Uncle Nicholas?" And Swaggin says Uncle Nicky. So you are officially Uncle Nicky.
I am honored. Does this mean that I have to start talking out of the side of my mouth like this all the time and
It
say,
would be an
"Dad,
improvement. It would,
Dad"?
it would
I
be an
kind of,
improvement.
if you guys watch closely, not to out myself, but I do kind of like have a slight like angle when I talk. I notice it, of course, because I see myself all the time when I have to cut videos for us or for work. So like, I do have a little Nikki going on already.
There is a Popeyes bias in denim. So
There we go. I've been actually kind of wanting to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in years, and I know it's like it probably doesn't age all the
Popeyes
best, but
chicken kicks ass.
I'll be, I gotta go watch it now. I got to get ready for next time I come over.
Oh yes, she's never seen it.
She's gonna be like, "What happened?"
But congratulations, Nikki.
Thank you. I
It
am
is an unpaid promotion, of course, and
genuinely
we do
honored.
expect gifts.
Of
So
course. Oh, I already give.
I
So
know.
yeah.
You were very kind to my daughter.
Yes. Thank you. I'm honored. Seriously.
All right. Well, okay. Enough blowing smoke up your ass. Let's get to the good stuff, Nicholas.
Yeah. You gonna do the intro that you normally do, or are we not doing that today?
Oh, I get so excited. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of all ages, Geeks Worldwide Radio and the Dork Shared Gooniver, which now has hats, proudly presents to you the greatest, and I mean the greatest, podcasting team in the world. He's the comic book writer, Nick Friar. I am still the kidney stone kid, backcracker, Dr. Joe. Together we are the TLDR Comic Book Club, baby. How's it going, Nicholas?
I'm like blown away at the honor that you just bestowed upon me. I'm not even remotely being sarcastic. But now I'm back to being concerned. Like, are you at least moving around okay with this
I
shit?
mean, I'm moving fine. I mean,
Okay.
there's a chance this thing is sort of, let's put it this way, right? It's very clear I haven't passed
Yep.
a pea-sized stone, but I would assume, even if this bad Larry broke up into fine silt, I would still be able to notice if something came through. But there's a good chance that it does just that, and I don't ever know. But
That'd be
Nicholas,
great.
I'm alive. I am here. I am dedicated. I am still here to deliver great comic book content to the
Mhm.
masses.
And despite what is being said on the streets now, you are still spoiler free since 23. And the reason that I have to clarify that for those watching on the stream, whether we're talking about Twitter or Instagram Live or YouTube, we have another Friar Side chat coming your way. So that means make sure you're subscribed to one of our audio channels because the only place you can find our Friar Side chats. And again, those for anybody who's new to the show, those are conversations with creators across the industry. A lot of times it comes down to writers because artists are very busy. I don't think we've done a whole lot with colorists or letterers yet. Maybe at some point we will, but we just talked to a little while back. We talked to Zach Kaplan about Kill All Immortals. I hope everybody made sure they made moves on the ahead of the FOC for Kill All Immortals because that was awesome. If not, make sure when that comes out in July, that you get to your local comic shop as soon as it opens, because there's not, that thing's going to fly off the shelves. We also just talked to Ethan Sachs about A Haunted Girl, which Joe had talked about on the show previously. That was a book that you had dibs on. Kill All Immortals is a book that I cucked myself on and I had dibs on. And then, Joe, we had the return this week coming up, the return of Cullen Bunn to talk Beyond Mortal.
5-time guest. I think it's just him and Sean Lewis, right? That's the rarefied air of guests who have come back repeatedly on the show. And we talked about maybe making signet rings or gold jackets or friendship bracelets or something to
there we go. Now you're talking, and Violet can do that.
She can, for those who have reached the 5-time, 5-time club on TLDR, but it's always a blast talking with Cullen. And we actually discussed Beyond Mortal with him way back in April 2021 when this was a Kickstarter campaign. And that was just sort of the first chapter of this wonderful, badass, twisted, messed up superhero universe that he's created. Now it's being put out by Dark Horse as an OGN, and it's 3 chapters. So what we got, Nicholas, originally was just the first chapter of this story. Now you can read 158 pages or so of pure kick-ass superhero, this new universe that he's created, and it doesn't mess around. It gets right into it, and you can hear more of that, on our chat, with Cullen when that drops. Sometime depending on when you're watching or listening, early in the week.
Yeah, and I this is also kind of that test that I've talked about in the past, not done conventionally because it was done on Kickstarter originally, but I've talked about the idea on our show before with, I think we've talked about it with Sean quite a bit, but I know you and I have talked about it with, like, drop the first issue and then give us the OGN, like have it as the trailer, put the awareness out there, get the people talking, and then just hit them with friggin' everything. This is still it's a little unconventional because of the Kickstarter, but I'm very curious how this does, more so than I ever have been, from a performance standpoint for a book. Obviously, we want more of Beyond Mortal. It seems like there's gonna be more of that. You'll hear more in that conversation with Cullen. Again, make sure you subscribe to one of our audio channels. That's the only place you can find our Friar Side chats. We're talking Apple, Spotify, Geeks Worldwide Radio, Amazon, Pocket Cast, all the major platforms. If you watch us primarily, you don't listen to us in audio form, if you're just finding us randomly and you don't find us on the podcasting platform that you're on, please hit us in our DMs on Twitter or Instagram. We'll be able to find you there, and we'll make sure we're on one of that platform. I'm sure we're on all the ones that people need, but there's always some random ones. Anyways, yes, we talked to Cullen from a programming standpoint. Just so everybody knows, all these conversations have been dropped recently on Mondays. Cullen will be no exception. However, because I'm going to be out of town, we're just going to have the Friar Side chat next week. That doesn't mean, though, that you won't get some more comic book content from us, because Joe is always doing what's in his stack. You can find that on Instagram. We haven't been putting it on YouTube, but we should be. But you can always find that on Instagram, TLDR_pod. And for this week coming up, you're definitely going to need it. Maybe we'll get it a little early. I'm not going to speak for you, Joe, but that wouldn't be the worst thing if you gave it to people a little bit earlier than you typically do.
Well, so I would love to do that, but there's a thing called work and the dreaded thing, Nicholas. And I love my daughter oh so very much, but now that school's ending soon,
oh boy,
yeah, oh boy, I don't have Tuesdays and Fridays to gallivant around by myself. I've got a parent, so
oh boy,
that means I gotta really do things ahead of time. So there is a good chance that I might be able to put these things out a little early, but
just as next week. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to change your whole friggin' schedule. Just an exception to the rule. But
you ask a lot, Nicholas.
But now it sounds like
don't make me rescind your promotion.
Violet has, well, no, I'm going to get it back right here, because Violet had, I know Violet in the past had said that she wanted to have her own podcast because of everything.
She was talking about the other day, actually.
Oh, she was. Well, maybe this is where, this summer, maybe this is her opportunity. Maybe we find a way. I don't know what that segment would be, but we can discuss that at another time. Right now, Joe, we got a lot of books to get to in a short amount of time. Let's get to catching up. I know you've been making some moves.
Oh, baby, have I made some moves. So a couple books I want to get to, that are widely more popular here. I caught up on the last issue of Wolverine, and that was a very bittersweet
Mhm.
issue. Benjamin Percy penned a wonderful letter, at the
Awesome.
end, sort of describing his time and what Wolverine has meant to him, over the years and over the course of his life. Quite frankly, Death Ratioed from AWA Studios, excellent. I mean, you didn't undersell it or oversell it, or I mean, it was like,
You're saying I
I
did a
don't know.
perfect job. Thank you very much. I
You
appreciate it.
did. This book was excellent, 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 excellent. Mark Russell, as always, killed it. And what I love about his writing is his satire and his social commentary is done in such a way where you don't feel like you're being beaten over the head or being lectured to. Right, because there's a lot of times where there's been some books out there, you read it, and they're you're giving you this heavy-handed
Yeah.
social commentary, and you feel like you're being lectured to. And that's not what I want, when I'm reading a comic book. But the story, the idea that if you get too many downvotes, your head's gonna go kablooey, is wild, absolutely awesome, and I loved every page, and every panel of that book. So make sure you go out. It's a one shot, so make sure you go out, and if your local comic book shop still has it, grab it. If not, have them order it.
I would be
Um,
stunned on a quick before you go further. I would be stunned if AWA doesn't like if this sells well. If AWA doesn't get back together like as a team and say like, this did really well. It's a one shot. Like it's kind of maybe surprising or maybe just did it as well as they hoped. Whatever. And then it's like maybe we should try and do more in this world. We don't need to do more with these characters, but like there's because like that concept was so awesome, man. And you're right. Like Mark Russell, I think right now, like from a social commentary standpoint, he's the guy that is doing the best job right now.
no, hands down, and so the story that they put out, last year, Absolution, there were vibes of that in this story, where in Absolution, right,
Yeah,
the main character sort of had, like, there's a constant live stream on her,
and
and
then Trojan too.
and Trojan, same thing, right? So, like, yeah, you could definitely build something, more in this universe and really expound upon that.
Mhm.
Avengers Twilight, the finale, Chip Zdarsky's run on that with Old Man Cap, if you will. That just had a fantastic ending. That was a great series. If you haven't read it, when the OGN comes out, or the trade paperback, I should say, comes out, make sure you pick it up and read it. Avengers fans, Marvel fans, Chip fans, you're gonna love it. It's excellent.
You gonna talk about it soon then?
We'll see.
Uh,
Let's see. Helverine, issue 1, which you're going to dive into a little bit more, so I won't say too much on that. But 2 books, and I know I'm going on here about my catching up, but one of the things I've been doing lately is at Newbury Comics. Now, I used to go to Hub Comics, but that's now like an hour plus drive each way for me to get to, and I just can't get there anymore because I love the small local comic shop. But the Newbury Comics by me is awesome because they don't just carry like just sort of like the big three. They will always each week have these books that I have never heard of from publishing, companies or studios I have never heard of. So from time to time, if I see what it catches my eye, something is interesting about it, right? I'll grab it. And there's 2 books that I grabbed that really piqued my interest. One was The Gun Hand, issue 1, and this is from a comic book studio publisher called American Mythology Productions.
hmm.
And I got it because the cover, it had sort of that horror vibe to it. And this is essentially, a Frankenstein story, but sort of like taking place in the events after his death. He finds his way to America, and he's what was really cool about it. One was the art because it was very sort of macabre and gothic. But the premise of the story is he's sort of like stowaways on a ship. He gets caught. The people, the crew on the ship attack him, and he kills a lot of people, and then he sort of jumps overboard, escapes. He's in what appears to be New York City, and in the process of him sort of getting away from all those sailors, as they cut one of his arms off with the sort of at the forearm, and he stumbles into an alley, and there's sort of this Dr. Moreau kind of character who stitches this cursed hand onto him.
Oh,
And now, like, he's sort of bound by this cursed hand to sort of fulfill, he's pretty much got on a quest now where he's got to go take someone out that's all the way across the country, but the hand really does have a mind of its own, and he just starts attacking and killing people willy-nilly. So he's got to find a way to carry out his mission without, causing a lot of suspicion, a lot of dead bodies in his wake. So that
damn.
was a very interesting
Nice
and
find.
cool concept, right? And then this other book is interesting. So it's called 7 Years of Darkness, and it said 7 Years in Darkness, issue 1. And again, the cover looked awesome. The interiors looked awesome. I grabbed it. What I didn't realize is that when I got home, is that it's 7 Years in Darkness, issue 1, but it's book 2, issue 1, or year 2,
Yep.
issue 1. So what I did was, okay, let me go see if I can find year 1, right? And it wasn't on Hoopla. It's on Comixology, but even though I subscribe to Comixology, or it's just Amazon Books now or whatever,
Yeah.
sometimes those books are for free. This was not, and so each issue was $5. I was like, let me pick up the first issue. If I like it, I'll read the others, and I'll lead me right into this. And I get halfway through, Nicholas, and I texted you and said, I found this diamond in the rough book. It is awesome. I think it's a TLDR book. And you said, I picked that volume up a year or so ago, but haven't read it. And I promptly called dibs.
So as soon as you said it, I was like, well, this is on me because I haven't read it yet. I heard about it from one of the local comic shops in Nashua, and I went there. He told me about it, but I couldn't find the single issues. And then eventually it was on Omnibus, which I use. And I was like, okay, so I got this, and I purchased it when I finally realized it was on there. I purchased it, but I haven't read it yet. But I was like, I don't need to call dibs on this thing because Joe won't why, how the hell is he going to hear about this thing? I knew there was a second volume coming, but I'm just like, he's not going to. He'll see year 2. It's not. It's fine. That was just lazy, boneheaded thinking on my part because I heard about this and I was like, this. It sounded awesome,
It
and
is
I was
awesome.
ready. I was ready to read it. I bought all the 5 first issues. I think I have the first issue of year 2. I didn't wait. I bought
Yeah.
them all at once because I the praise that I heard from it. So I was like, when you said that, I was like, you know what? I don't deserve this. Like, I'm not
Well,
going to
now
sit
you have
waiting.
them for when I do talk about it on the show. You can read it ASAP because the premise is fantastic. And also the other thing that caught my eye too is it's from CEX,
Yeah, never heard of them.
Comics Experience Publishing. Well, I'll tell you, I read a book by the same sort of thing happened. I saw Jeff McComsey's name
Oh,
attached to the book, writer and artist. It's called Mother Russia. And the only reason why I haven't talked about it on TLDR is because it's only like a couple issues, like
hmm.
2 issues, 3, and it was fantastic. So same publisher. Okay, I've got it's the Joseph Schmalke is the writer and the artist on this, and the premise is essentially is that think of it's about dark wizards, right? So think about sort of Harry Potter, right? You've got Hogwarts, right? You've got the School of Wizardry, but the school that this book revolved around is it's not like a school where you matriculate year by year by year and you've got a constant flow of students, 5th year, 6th year, 7th years, whatever, right? Freshman, junior, sophomores, whatever. This is a school where the last time that it opened its doors to students was like 200 something years ago. And so what happens is there's a recruit of say 170 something students, only 7 are picked. The ones that don't get picked, they're dead, right? It's sort of like a survival of the fittest. And then once those students are picked, the school doesn't reopen until they have all come and gone, right? And so that without me getting at more because I want to save it for the show is and so like the first volume, year 1 is year and the school is 7 years long, hence the name, right? 7 Years in Darkness. And so which is it's a wild premise. It was a fantastic the art, it was everything about it was fantastic.
I'm so mad at myself. I
Yeah,
really
you
am.
missed a good
Like
one
it,
there.
I like when I saw it was on Omnibus. Like I was like, okay, I'll get it there. Like before that, I couldn't find the issues anywhere. Like I know you said you found it on Amazon, but I couldn't find it in physical form anywhere. And that was why I hadn't gotten into it. And then I was like, I just got too cute. I should have just called dibs and gotten to it and made a point to anyways.
Excellent. Excellent.
I'm happy for you. I am genuinely happy for you. And I'm happy for everybody else because they're going to hear about it in more detail on the show. But honestly, the way you talked about it, it's like on you. I didn't. That's why I was like, I'm going to check this out 100%. I'd never heard of the publisher. I wasn't sure who was writing it, but the concept was awesome.
And that's why we do this show, right? That's where the premise of this show, was
Yep.
born from. Stuff like this, because of course we could talk Marvel and DC, Image all day, but it's the studios like Boom, like AWA, like Mad Cave, like Dark Horse, and then like these two. Never, I've heard of CEX, but only once before, right? Like these are not well-known, popular publishers or studios, and when you find a book like this, it's like yes,
Yep.
let
100%.
the people know.
Speaking of Marvel and DC, though, I did catch up on Wolverine 50, as you mentioned, and Helverine issue 1, which we'll talk about in a moment, because there is more Benjamin Percy stuff that's out this week. But Joe, let's get into what's new this week.
All right, so from Marvel for New Comic Book Day, June, Nicholas, we're halfway through the year.
Crazy.
June 5th, 2024, we have The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 5. The Amazing Spider-Man, issue 51. There we go. X-Men 35, which happens to be Legacy issue 700 of Uncanny X-Men. Jesus, I've been talking for a while.
Well, let me give you a quick break here. I did read this. If you're a Nightcrawler fan, I feel like you absolutely have to pick this up. I'm not going to say more than that, but like you have to, because it puts it's a bow on the Krakoa era and everything. The Xavier stuff is really cool, but Nightcrawler fans, there's something in here that like I never thought I'd fucking see this ever. I wouldn't even have thought of this.
Yeah, it was excellent. It was an excellent send off. We're now going to be, ushering in a new era of X-Men. I'm very excited to see where it goes. Friend of the show, Ryan Stegman, we know is going to be an integral part of that, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So very excited for that. But yeah, X-Men 35, the end of the Krakoan era. The Ultimates issue 1, Wolverine Blood Hunt issue 1, Carnage issue 8, Blood Hunters issue 2, Miss Marvel Mutant Menace issue 4, What If Venom issue 5, Star Wars The High Republic issue 8, Get Fury issue 2, Aliens What If issue 4, and then Ghost Rider Final Vengeance issue 4.
Yeah, man, we've been talking about it a ton because obviously this is a big time for Benjamin Percy, specifically with Ghost Rider Final Vengeance. It's like he's doing a ton there. Obviously, he's ending a lot of stuff with Wolverine, although we're getting more with Helverine, which I do want to touch on in a second. But this is just such a cool, like a heavy metal story. And it's just every single month, this thing delivers. No one has done more for the spirit of vengeance than Benjamin Percy. Like plain and simple, cut and dry, other than the conception of the character.
He's made Ghost Rider a character that I absolutely love. And the way he's tackled it and just everything that he's done. And then, what I love what's going on in Final Vengeance is the last two issues in particular where, the main character, who is an absolute detestable, vile, villainous character, you're kind of rooting for a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
As he's systematically taking down Chicago's mob bosses and just it's so good. And just like it's you want on one hand, you can't wait to see his downfall, but you're really enjoying the ride.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to say, if they're like, we're gonna keep. If Ben was like, I'm going to keep it going like this, and we will do some more Ghost Rider this way. I'd be down. I'd be in. I'd be 100% in. In similar to that too, like where we talked about how well he's done with Ghost Rider and obviously Wolverine as well. Helverine, we unfortunately, like again, like the review copies we just got, like with the holiday and everything, we were thrown off a little bit, so we didn't get a chance to look at Helverine when it first came out. But man, like this is getting some buzz now, so that's also why I want to touch on it. But it is so fucking good. Like all the buzz is very much deserved. The action, as you would expect, this is Julius Ota and Frank D'Armata. Like the action, as you would expect from a story titled Helverine, absolutely friggin' delivered. But the thing that I think is kind of sticking with people or getting the more buzz without saying it is the twist that we get at the end, fucking mind blowing. It's like, I'm here for some fun, crazy action. I get that. And then it's like, obviously Benjamin Percy is a great writer, but it's like, you didn't even need to do that, man. But I'm totally here for it. Like, and now it's like, I feel like Wolverine's only solicited for 3 issues, and it's like, Marvel, you sure you want to just do 3 issues of this shit?
Yeah. Yeah, let's keep it going. I mean, the book absolutely rips.
Yep.
It is 100 miles an hour from the first page, and yeah, we don't want to say too much about because we really want you to go out and read it. It's that damn good.
Yeah, it's awesome. By the way, I know in the past you've gotten chirped about how you say how you pronounce certain things. Our friends over at Thorny Comics like how you say Spider-Man. So there you
Oh,
go.
nice. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
So now 1-1.
all right, all right. We're even in the cosmos, baby.
Yes. All right.
Love that.
Moving over to DC Comics, we got Batman 148, which you are on top of. Poison Ivy issue 23, which I talked about on the show a little while back. Birds of Prey issue 10. Shazam Shazam.
Damn.
Thank you. Issue 12. The Boy Wonder issue 2. Kneel Before Zod issue 6. Suicide Squad Kill Arkham Asylum issue 5. My Adventures with Superman issue 1. Batman Scooby Doo Mysteries issue 6. And DC A Celebration of Rachel Pollock issue 1.
All right, and from our friends over at Boom
Ooh.
Studios, we have Ranger Academy issue 8, Under Heist issue 4, and then we have a number 1, Nicholas, which you read first, and then I quickly followed, and that's Profane issue 1, written by Peter Milligan.
Yep, and art by Raul Fernandez. And going into this, I'd seen the elevator pitch. It was Bang meets Newburn. You've talked about Bang on the show previously. I still have not read that, but it's like you said, like right away, like you got those vibes. For someone who hasn't read it, I think it heightens the experience even more so because it's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like it starts off as this normal thing, and then it gets just bizarrely meta with this character Will Profane in such a way that like I got so twisted up by the end of it, Joe. It's like I kind of know what's going on, but I really also don't. But I know just enough, and I'm twisted up just enough. It's like I have to read the second issue.
Even if you have read Bang, uh, Peter Milligan does a really great job at the storytelling in this first issue where you don't get that reveal until the end, and it makes you want to go back and reread the issue just to see what little breadcrumbs you can pick up, and not necessarily in the writing, but in the art.
Good call.
Right? Are there things sort of hidden in the panels that sort of give you clues and whatnot? But yeah, Matt Kint, with Bang and Folklords has sort of done this. I don't want to say like what happens, but this type of storytelling, the story within a story, if you will, that it is so fun, and I can't wait to see sort of Peter's take on that and where he's taking this character. You know me, I love a great detective noir
Yep.
pulp story, and I mean, it's 100% spot on when it says Bang meets Newburn, because we've talked about Newburn on this show a lot. We love Newburn. We both love the Brubaker Phillips stories, right? We love
Right.
even the stuff over at Hard Case Crime. We love that kind of storytelling. So the art in this was fantastic. The storytelling, the premise, everything about it is fantastic. So when you're listening to this, if you're smart, you're listening to us on your way to the local comic book shop, so you know which books to pick up. Make sure this is one of them.
Yep, and there's some cool covers too. I think Panosian is one that you
Yes.
put in our image that you shared on Twitter, like letting people know that what the episode is this week. But yeah, that one's pretty badass, and there's some other cool ones too. But that one was
The cover I used on Instagram was Mike Diodato Jr., I believe.
oh, it's Diodato. Oh, pardon me. My bad. But yeah, either way, really cool. Moving over to Dark Horse, we got Minor Threats, The Fastest Way Down, issue 3, Mortal Terror, issue 4, Kanto, A Place Like Home, issue 1. From collected editions, we got Powers, of course, Brian Michael Bendis, volume 6. And then we both checked out Beyond the Pale, which for me, like, it was okay. Like the twist that we got at the end, I was like, oh, that was that surprised me. Like I felt like it was a little slow for me in a way that I was like, okay, and the premise like okay, but then as it progresses, like, that's an
Well,
interesting ending.
yeah, I felt the same exact way. We didn't discuss this book beforehand, but that's exactly how I felt. And I think, the pacing was okay. We're kind of, we're plodding along, but the ending did its job, right? Like,
Mhm.
I want to read the second issue because I want to see now, where this story is going. So, like, books are like that sometimes. Sometimes they're 0 to 60, high octane right off the rip. And they hook you. Then some books, they build, and then bang, they get you right there at the end. So that was what the Beyond the Pale
Yeah.
did for me, at least.
And it's also for those wondering too, as we move on to the next stuff. This is set in the Vietnam War. You have like American soldiers, then you have a journalist who comes over, and then like that's kind of the foundation of this. And then we get this weird twist later on
Yeah,
that we've alluded to. That you're just like you won't like. There's I'll put it this way: there's no hints at it till you fucking get it, and it's
zero.
whoa.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
very interesting stuff. But what else we got, Joe?
So we don't have anything from our friends over at AWA this week, but our friends at Mad Cave. Notice how I'm saying friends a lot.
Mm,
Right, right, right. The
look at
people
you.
like us, Nicholas. The people like us.
They do.
We have a book that you absolutely love, Charred Remains.
Yep,
But there's also a number one for Mad Cave this week, and that is The Mammoth. Did you read this, Nicholas?
I did not. It's Paul Tobin, who I do like quite a bit. The writer on the series because he wrote how was it Bunny Mask, which is
Yeah.
one of like it's shame what's going on with Aftershock. That is a title over there. I hope that it like we Bunny Mask is somehow freed and is out in the wild again at some point because that series is too fucking good. But that's not a great example. Like, but that's why sometimes but especially with the indie titles, like make sure you are staying on top of the single issues because sometimes with the trades we don't know what can happen. Obviously, we never want that to happen, but you never know. Anyways,
Yeah, this was a great, first issue. I'm trying to pull it up here because I love the art, I love the storytelling. This was so this is a horror slash supernatural, story. And again, we just sort of talked about this a little bit with Beyond the Pale, where like this book is awesome in the sense that you get something that happens real quick, like holy shit moment happens right off the rip, and then you kind of the pace slows down a little bit, and then you kind of get this build into this massive crescendo at the end of the first issue. And again, it's like, man, balls, this is a great story. So I may call dibs on this, Nicholas.
that's fair.
I
Totally
may call
fair.
dibs because again, there's a lot of suspense built into this, a lot of intrigue, and like it's got that kind of horror, that I really like, the gruesome stuff, is great and has a place, but I also like, especially with horror comics, like that sort of slow build, twisted, macabre, kind of layering to it, where it's not all just like Cormac does this to me all the time. You flip the page and it's just like, oh, what the fuck, you
Yeah.
know. This is definitely more of a I don't want to say slow burn
Mm.
as any sort of negative term because it's not. But like it's like when you're eating hot sauce and like, oh, it's got great flavor to it, and then that heat sort of builds and builds and builds. That's sort of what you get in this first issue, and I absolutely love it.
As a writer, Tobin does that very well because you have like Bunny Mask, like that's a very like terrifying character, but he like knows how to like not just like have her pop like, and I think it was Andre Muti was the artist on that series. Like she wouldn't just like pop up and scare the fuck out of you. She'd be there like in the background, and you get these fucking chills. And every time
Yeah,
she talked, it was like, ugh, fuck. But anyways,
yeah,
awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
so that's a nice one. Now from IDW, we got TMNT Sourcebook issue 3, Star Trek Sons of Star Trek issue 3, Monster High Pride 2024, Godzilla Rivals Mothra versus Hedorah issue 1, TMNT Jenica, of course the fifth TMNT trade paperback, Best of TMNT Collection Volume 4, and then TMNT Alpha, which we actually had. Did you get a chance to look at this? Because I did.
I did, yes.
Dude, wow. Like, so let me set the land for everybody real quick. So obviously Jason Aaron is spearheading the this new era of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The previous run came at the end to end with issue 150. Joe and I had not been reading that. That doesn't mean we won't go back and check it out. It's just we just didn't. But this is going to be starting in July. This TMNT Alpha is like this issue 0, kind of getting everybody set, laying the land and everything. We get a little bit from what's going on with Jason Aaron's run, and that's by Joel Jones and Rhonda Pattison as well. And then we also get a story for TMNT Mutant Nation, which that's another title that's going to be coming in September. And that was good, but what we got for the TMNT stuff, man, that you could not ask for a better tone setter.
It was different, right? Which was awesome. Like, I don't know about you, but I got some Last Ronin vibes from it, even though it's like it's not the Last Ronin, but there's, I loved it because it revolves around my man Donnie. But the setting, like everything about it, it's gritty, it's mature, but that's not to say that it's like, too adult for kids or anything like that. But it's just like it gets right into it. It was awesome. It was a great little taste for what's to come. Absolutely excellent.
It was just like a bit of a surprise. Like that.
Oh yeah, because I had no idea what to expect, and like, right.
Had no clue. And then as things are going on, it's like, oh, okay, like this, like yeah, I can take some stabs at what's going to happen, and they're like, nope. And the way it's just, I think it's only like 10 pages. Again, like the TMNT Mutant Nation story is very interesting, but like these 10 pages, man, like you guys need to check this out. Like if you're at all not like loving the idea of Jason Aaron, like if of taking over TMNT, if you're just remotely interested, you don't need to love the idea, just remotely interested, check this out because it's that fucking good.
Yeah, it was absolutely excellent. Absolutely excellent.
All right, let's see. Let's wrap this up before we get to Image. We got Door to Door, Night by Night, Volume 2 by friend of the show, Cullen Bunn. Of course, that is from Vault. From Dynamite, we got Space Ghost, Issue 2, Lilo and Stitch, Issue 4, Vampirella, Dark Reflections, Issue 1. And then from Image and Skybound, we got Gunslinger Spawn, Issue 32, Scarlet, Issue 1, which is a new Energon Universe title, Scorched, Issue 30, The Walking Dead Deluxe, Issue 90, I Hate Fairyland, Issue 15, Love Everlasting, Issue 15, Kaya, Issue 19, Savage Dragon, Issue 270, Precious Metal, Issue 1, which neither of us got a chance to check out. And then we got Duke, Volume 1 as a trade paperback, along with The Dead Lucky, Volume 2, Phantom Road, Volume 2, and Petrolhead, Volume 2.
Volume 1.
Volume 1. Sorry, I just got in like Ron Burgundy mode. Then, not to say that you had a typo there. And then we got The Last Mermaid, Issue 4, which you've been on top of. And then we got
excellent issue.
3 books that we wanted to talk about that we've each gotten to take a look at. Where would you like to start?
Well, real quick, Scarlet, Issue 1, as you said, in the Energon universe. It was an excellent issue, and that's written by Kelly Thompson.
Ooh,
excellent.
I didn't know that. Okay,
yep. Absolutely excellent. And I also caught up on Duke issue 5. I meant to mention that earlier, because I believe that trade is out. Yeah, as you mentioned, Duke Volume 1 is out. So.
On another thing too, I said that we've read all 3 of these books that we want to talk about. I actually, unfortunately, haven't read Bear Pirate Viking Queen yet because it's something that we said this before when we had Sean on the show. I'm very excited to read this, but this is absolutely something that you cannot rush. Some of these other titles, not that we're trying to rush through it, but from a pacing standpoint, maybe it plays into it. Some things maybe you can read a little bit faster just because of time. Because again, Joe and I are trying to read a ton of stuff. But Bear Pirate Viking Queen, you need to get it. You need to sit down and you need to make sure you're not getting distracted because this is a totally different experience than anything else you'll pick up this week.
Well, that's how I felt because I didn't try and cram it in last night when I was reading a lot of these books. I saved it for today for that very reason. So we're gonna start there with Bear Pirate Viking Queen. So when we had Sean on, right, and we talked about it, what he said was like these are sort of all, I think it's the 3 issues. They're all sort of built to be sort of standalone issues. but there is sort of an interconnecting, fiber to them all. And so what we get in the first issue, the pirate, right? And that story, tells a brilliant story. And then the second issue starts with the Viking. And John Mark Sparvecchia's art is something to behold. We were, talking with Sean about it. We raved about it because it is unique and different. You don't typically see watercolors as your interiors, right? Dustin Wynn did it with Jeff Lemire's Little Monsters, which I loved and excellent. But there was a lot. That was a lot more refined. That had much more of that traditional comic book look to it. What John Marks is doing with Bear Pirate Viking Queen is just absolutely epic. It's the only way to
Mhm.
describe it. And the first few pages of because each issue is a little oversized, which is wonderful. It's black and white and it's sketchy. And it just like because you're talking, he's talking about sort of you're getting this quick origin, this brief origin of the main character in this particular issue, the Viking Hemdall, and it's raw and it's gritty, and that's sort of the character that is portrayed throughout the rest of the issue. And then it sort of comes into sort of right where the last issue ends, and then takes off and becomes its own thing.
Mm.
And again, the colors that John Marks uses, the story that Sean tells, we get sort of the introduction to the Queen here, and just sort of the Vikings story. Just like the pirate was the main story in the first one, the Viking becomes the main story in this one. And it's just seeing the vengeance and the bloodlust and just encapsulating everything that you think of as like an ancient Viking to be, but also the heartache that comes from his backstory. This was absolutely epic. This was absolutely tremendous. The first book has gotten a ton of praise. I believe it's sold out.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that this one won't sell out as well. Sean and John Marks Baravecki have really tapped into something here.
Yeah, and the thing that's as I'm hearing you talk about it again, and thinking back on what Sean had said to us previously, how like these stories were all interconnected, but at the same time you could pick up issue 2 and read it and not have
Yeah,
read the
100%.
first issue. Which and that's again we've talked about it more and more over time in the show, but Joe and I generally don't like to do that because we want to read the whole fucking thing. But this one is one where you like kind of very much are able to do that. But that said, like that, this is where like we're talking about like this story is like unlike anything you're seeing in comics right now. This is also like that's something you're not going to see anywhere else. Like in terms of not like publishers, I'm talking about like other mediums too. Like it just feels like this is like Sean and Baravecchia are like making sure they are doing everything they can with this medium that you can't anywhere else. And that
Yeah.
the special one that you have that kind of again experience.
Yeah, it is an experience. This has the all the feelings of like an epic novel, right?
Mhm.
It's like Moby Dick, right? It's just this epic story sort of being told in a way that comics just traditionally are not told, and that's what makes it so awesome.
Yeah, awesome, awesome stuff. And then you continue with that from Images Week. There's a couple of big titles that we, on top of Bear Pirate Viking Queen that we're very excited about. Another one is Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, issue 1. I've seen this getting a ton of praise previously. This is by Jerry Duggan and Gary Brown, and I'd been excited to check this out. Got a double sized first issue. Going into this, I was just like, Jerry Duggan wrote this. I don't really need much more. I'm gonna give this a look. I kind of don't even want to see what the synopsis is. I've seen what the main cover is, and we'll go from there. This issue focuses primarily on spending time with the story's 2 main characters. We have Asami, who is a female samurai, and McGrath, who is a gunslinger from the West. And we get to know how like badass these 2 individuals are on their own. And it's not until the end of the issue that we kind of learn the larger plot at play. Now, if you go look this up the synopsis, you'll be able to figure some of that stuff out. But in this, like you're told that in the synopsis, but this is very character driven for these two characters. This issue is very character driven. I really enjoyed it. I'm very much invested in both of them. I want to hear all your thoughts, but the first thing, Joe, I need to know is, are you more excited to learn more about Asami or McWraith?
Asami, 100%.
Same,
Right,
same.
right. You've got two characters on opposite sides of the world. Couldn't be any more different, yet are very similar at
Hmm.
the same time,
Yep.
right? And I love that. And I love how you get McGrath's story first, and then through narration, it tells you, and then you get Asami's story, and then how they come together. This was excellent, and I love, Jerry Duggan again. You're seeing this more and more. Pens a little letter at the end of the issue. He's like, "All right, whew, I'm done with X-Men now. Now it's time for some really off the rail shit." And this was such a fun book, and I love that because I asked you because you had it underlined and it was in red, which peek behind the curtain in our notes means red is Nick books, blue are Doc's books. And I said, "Oh, please don't have called dibs because I want to read this." And you didn't, so I fucking read it as fast as I could before you could change your mind.
Yeah. No,
This
no.
book
What's
is badass.
yeah, I wanted you to check this out because like I was excited for it in general anyways. And with this like being like I know Jerry Duggan, we've talked about him on the show previously with the Dark Room. I talked about that title before, and I'm excited for the second volume of that. But it's like I feel like we haven't like I want like he's he's moving away from X right now. Like let's both give this a shot and make sure that you like it and give you. I don't want to steal this one from you. And because it's also because like there's two characters that's like one of it like I wasn't certain that we were both gonna have the same favorite character, but it's just like you have two cool characters, and I feel like anybody can fall in love with at least one of them, if not both.
Well, they're both great, and I think what's also about this is you got a samurai and you got a cowboy, right, so to speak. It's you westerns and samurai stories. I think just lend themselves, really well to be paired with each other, and I think these two characters are going to be really fun to read about,
Yeah,
and I
very
can't wait to
excited.
see the direction that it ends up going in.
Yeah, very, very excited for this. And this is something that is it's planned to be ongoing. This isn't like a six, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be 6 issues and that's it.
Love that.
So definitely like don't miss out on the ride. Get in on the jump. Talking to you, you trade waiters. But anyways, to round things out, Joe, from friends of the show, Noah Gardner, Ryan Parrott, and John Pearson, we have the fourth issue, the penultimate issue of this story's arc, the Infernals issue 4. This is a massive issue for B, which we expected because we had 2 issues that were massive for her brothers previously, and then Dad. And obviously, they're all featured in the issues, but it's a little that we get a little more focus on each character, these different characters as the story goes along. In this one, Joe, this definitely had the most twists of any issue that we've gotten. And shocker, as a result, it's the best issue we've gotten of the Infernals yet.
Oh, hands down. And this is the issue I was looking forward to because, as you mentioned, the first issue is sort of like, you're that's the introduction. You're getting the narrator, from and you're mostly getting from the point of view of the father, and then next issue is one brother, father is and then so like right from the beginning when we had Noah, Ryan, and Pearson on, right? Because we only had the first issue at the time. I had said right away, Baphomet is the character B, right? She's the character I am most interested in because she was the one that just seemed the most intriguing because she was the quietest of the bunch. And it's the quiet ones, that are
Mhm.
they're gonna be, the craziest. And brag, Noah had said, "Hey, you want, we get image, review copies, but there was some,
Yes, yeah.
uncertainty, right?" So, anyways, he's like, "Here, boom, you're gonna love it." He said, "This is my favorite issue," and it's damn, he was not wrong. And I messaged him after, and I said, "B's a fucking badass," and he goes, "You nailed it. You
Yeah.
called it." So I want to take credit there, but in all honesty, all joking aside, like this issue was awesome. She was awesome. Like the twists that we got here, and just the way everything unfolded, and just this is such a good book such a great series. Like you should. We say this about all the books we talk about because we feel passionately about them. But this 100% is a book that you should be reading.
Yep, 100%. And for those new to the show too, on that note, Joe, as we wrap things up, like we've said this before, but we generally, of course, there are certain times where we like maybe pick a book apart, but we don't go too far into that. There's enough negativity in the world. There's enough negativity in comics commentary as well. If we don't like a book or if it's not for us, we'll tell you and then we move on. Like we there's enough of that out there. You can go somewhere else to find that kind of shit. We talk about the books that we fucking love and we tell you why because we're capable of doing more than just tearing shit down.
Except
Because
for Bad Cat, that deserved it.
well,
Yeah.
there are exceptions to every rule. We know this. But yes, that's right. That was yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
Anyways, but that is it for this week. Again, reminder, know what's new this week. You got the Cullen Friar side chat. It's going to be plenty there. We talked all about Beyond Mortal, some other Dark Horse stuff, and other things that Cullen has in the works, including one risque title, which I'm very excited to get more about. Actually, you called dibs on that one. So I'm gonna
I had to.
gonna have to wait on that. I've stolen a few. I've actually.
You are known as the dirty bird of the DSG, but I had to take dibs on this
the
one.
Dirty bird of the DSG. Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. With that, Joe, until next week when everybody hears the Cullen chat, stay sexy.
Yeah, you know it, baby.